Hey, welcome to a quick ramble here, which we had another project rebalance, and I like to talk about these things. So today I thought, hey, let's give it a look. This one is again about combat, but not really. It's mostly when it comes to items and some other like adjustments to combat-related things. So I'm just gonna go through it and sort of get my thoughts. I'll leave the link to the blog below so you can read it. Jagex will probably gather feedback and then like make an update blog or something like that, as they have done for all of the other ones, which I never really mentioned, but they're there. But yeah, so first up we have some item adjustments, and first up we have the occult necklace and magic gear. This one should be incredibly obvious for anyone that's been following the game for more than like a year. The occult necklace is way too OP. The blog says that it costs 800k GP. No, like I bought mine for less than 500k. Like this thing actually crashes quite a bit because it's very easy to obtain. The boss isn't exactly very hard because it was one of the first Slayer bosses that came out in like 2014, if I'm not mistaken. But it gives 10% magic damage, so not just accuracy but damage straight up. And it was always really bad, especially because when Ancestral came out and stuff like that, like Ancestral, each piece gave 2%, which means the entire set gave 6% magic damage, right? So compared to Occult Necklace, it was really bad. Jagex gave it not a lot of magic damage, specifically because the Occult Necklace was so overpowered. So obviously, finally it got nerfed. Instead of doing 10% magic damage, it's going to do 4, which I think it's much more in line. I still think it's a bit OP. I don't, because I think the Torment Bracelet is 10% as well, or is it 5? I can't remember right now, but actually let me go and check Tormented Bracelet. If it's 5 or 10. Yeah, it's 5% magic damage, so it's not even 10. And the Torment Bracelet requires it's quite expensive, or if you're an Iron Man, it requires Monkey Madness 2 and everything, right? It requires very high level crafting. Occult Necklace, it does require a lot of like high level Slayer, but as soon as you do unlock it, the boss isn't that hard to do, the monsters aren't that hard to do, so it's incredibly easy to get. So yeah, down to 4%, it's a really good change, and obviously they then buffed Ancestral, so each piece is now 4%, so the entire set would be 12%, which, is really good because Ancestral is still fucking expensive as shit. Virtus Robes went from 1 to 2%. Infinity Robes actually got a change as well, so now they deal 1%. Dagon High Robes also deal 1% per piece, not as a set. Third Age Armor, same, and Augury now actually does magic damage as well, so from 0 to 4%, so it pretty much acts like Rigor, which also does magic damage. I'm pretty sure it does like magic damage, accuracy, and or not magic damage, ranged accuracy, and ranged defense. So now Augury, instead of just providing accuracy and defense, it also provides damage, which is a pretty good change. Obviously, I mean, like, obviously it was gonna come into the game. This was like, I think the Occult Necklace was just killing magic, because all you need is just the Occult Necklace. Like, that's what you needed. So now that it's nerfed, and again, like, it's still not very expensive, 4% for less than a mil, it's really good for magic. I mean, most of the other pieces listed here, I mean, Augury at its lowest, even without the magic damage, was like 5 mil, I think. Dagonrai Robes are all above 1 mil, same with Infinity. Virtus, pretty expensive. Ancestral, incredibly expensive. So, overall, it's still an incredibly piece to get, even at 4%. But now, yeah, I think it's just much better. I think it fits the game much better, and it does allow for, actual armors to actually be really good. Obviously, this resulted in some nerfs, or some nerfs. Sometimes it's more of a buff, depending on what you were doing because of Augury, but other times it's a nerf, and I don't mind that, honestly. Again, like, I think that it was needed to be nerfed, so I do enjoy the change, and I was thinking if there's any equivalent to like ranged, because I don't think that, like, I mean, strength is a bit, or like strength bonus is a bit different because melee is a bit weaker overall. Especially because of the attack speed. I was thinking about ranged, because I was thinking if the... Yeah, no, but the Anguish... Yeah, I think ranged strength is not actually like as OP, so magic damage percent was like really OP. So yeah, I'm glad that it went down to 4%. This was probably the biggest change of the entire block. So that is a good thing. Next up, we have the Soul Reaper axe. And essentially they're not changing anything about it but the way you actually use it. So the stacks last longer, they're not lost if you change weapons, and the stacks will heal you if they just naturally degrade. So just overall QOL for the Soul Reaper axe. This is more like rebalancing the axe itself post release, in my opinion, than it is necessarily about rebalancing anything. But yeah, obviously maybe this will give it a bit more use. I know that the Soul Reaper axe was a bit weird to use because of how, I guess, demanding because of the stack thing. It was really weird in a spot, so making it slower I think makes it more viable to be used. Next up, and it's a big one, the Elder Maul. So the Elder Maul is going to be changed, where they're going to give it a special attack, where you spend 50% of the attack, special attack thing, and reduces the target's defense by 35%. So the Dragon War Hammer is 25, I'm pretty sure. And you also have the BGS, but the BGS drains levels, not a percentage of levels. So yeah, I mean, I think this is good. First of all, because I think the Dragon War Hammer, first of all, it's not really fun to get. Like, you have to grind fucking Lizardman Shamans at a rate of 1 to 5k, right? And secondly, I think that the Dragon War Hammer will still have a place in the game. Like, weapons that reduce defense or any kind of stats are like, but especially defense, are really important for the game. So the fact that we essentially just have 1.5 with the BGS and the Dragon War Hammer, yeah, obviously I'm not against having more of them. I do think, I mean, obviously this one is more OP, and this comes from the mega rare drop table. Like, this is not just a rare from Chambers, this is a mega rare. So, it's in the same table as the Tivo, for example, right? So I think this will give it more use. It will definitely increase its price 100%. I think it will actually sort of nerf the Dragon War Hammer when it comes to the price of the Dragon War Hammer, because it won't be as used. But again, I'm not against having a sort of, I mean, I wouldn't call it mid-level weapon. I don't think Dragon War Hammer is mid-level, but it's sort of like that middle ground between you sort of being high level and you being end game, I think the Elder Maul is way more end game. And yeah, I mean, as they mentioned in the blog, it's a bit harder to, sort of balance a 6-tick weapon. And they actually made a pretty funny remark about it. 5-tick weapons like the Scythe of Vitor and the Twisted Bow do a fantastic job, but an even slower 6-tick weapon requires a max hit that would level off of Varrock. This is why you should read the blogs. But yeah, so essentially that's the change they made. I think it's good. I do like, because I find this weird, because most like, what are they called, the stat drain, I guess, special attacks mostly come from melee. Like, I know that range does some, magic doesn't have any, I don't think. Like, I don't think that magic has any weapon that reduces stats. I mean, sure, the spells in the Ancient Spellbook already do reduce stats, so but I guess there's that, but there isn't any, like, proper weapon. Ranged, I think it has some, like, especially with the bone crossbow, I think it does it, but it's a bone crossbow, so I find it kind of interesting that they are mostly relegated to being melee weapons. So maybe in the future, if this is successful, we can see more ranged weapons also sort of get that spotlight, because I think that currently ranged weapons, like, I don't remember using a lot of specs of ranged weapons. Like, yeah, occasionally the magic shortbow if you're like doing Slayer, or the Zarite crossbow is a good one, sure, but it's a Zarite crossbow. The ballistas, I guess, or was good for PvP. But yeah, like, outside of that, I don't really think that there are many. But yeah, so good change overall. I am a bit worried because 35% does seem like a lot, so maybe Jagex will have to change the number, but as far as it is now, I think it's good. And next up, we have the Inquisitor Armor and Mace. And essentially, they increased the Mace damage and accuracy when using the armor from 2.5% to 7.5%, because people would use the armor with the scythe. So yeah, this is to give it a bit more use. Yeah, I mean, sure, I think it's fine, but I don't know, because they mentioned in the blog, oh yeah, it's a stepping stone between Abyssal Bludgeon and the set of Wither. But does anyone actually use like the Abyssal Bludgeon anymore? Like it was good as a strength training weapon when Abyssal Sire came out, when you were doing Slayer especially. But nowadays, with how many melee weapons there are and stuff like that, I don't think anyone actually uses the Abyssal Bludgeon anymore. Like, especially because of its price, because it's really fucking expensive, right? And I mean, with this buff, it probably might be even more. So I don't think it's necessarily gonna be a stepping stone there, but you know, a buff to it, yeah, it kind of needed to be done. So I'm glad it was done. The Void Waker was also changed, although this was more, yeah, so the thing, it wasn't changed to do more damage, it was changed because of accuracy. So instead of ignoring accuracy, it will roll with increased accuracy. So it shouldn't change too much, but I, I don't know, like, honestly, I never really used the Void Waker too much, especially not in PVM. Not that I have GP to afford one, but still. But I don't know, this is actually going to affect a lot of the DPS. I mean, it shouldn't, but, or it shouldn't affect it too much. But yeah, I guess this is to mostly eliminate the, like, bypassing of stats, because I think that's maybe a bit too OP. So I guess this is one of the changes that they actually aren't going to do, and it's one of the changes that they are simply proposing. So yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I think it's good, because I do think that Void Waker to a point is a bit too OP when you're dealing damage. Especially in PVM, like, you know, who cares about using the DDS when you can just avoid the wake or something, you know? But I don't know, honestly, I don't really have much of an opinion on that one. Next up, we have the Ancient God Sword. Now, this change is actually mostly towards PvP, not for PVM, so again, I can't really speak too much because I don't PK that much, but the Blood Sacrifice healing will heal for 15% of target's maximum HP to a 25% cap, and this is to not, like, make fights be too unequal, I guess, because of, you know, as long as, because, like, if you hit one, you still get the like the full damage type thing. So I guess it's sort of reduced that a bit more, but I don't know, it doesn't really affect me, I don't care too much about it. Next up, the combat adjacent changes. So first up, these are changes that aren't changes made specifically to combat, but they are related to it. So first up, we have the Dragon War Hammer, and the drop rate was lowered, or I guess boosted, from 1 in 5k to 1 in 3k. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, it will crash its price somewhat, but now that the other mall is gonna get the buff, the 35%, I think that when it comes to spending a few dozen to a few hundred million on a weapon that simply reduces defense, yeah, I would rather it be a weapon that is like proper in-game and earned through in-game than through shamans. For main accounts, maybe that isn't that big of a deal, but for irons, having to grind the Lizardman shamans, which aren't even all that fun, let's be fucking honest, right? Especially if you have good gear, you just sort of sit there and you semi-AFK them. It's not very fun to have a 1 in 5k type deal. So I think it's a good change overall. And again, I think it will crash the price of the Dragon War Hammer, but I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I actually think it's a good thing, because again, it will be the middle ground between sort of being, you know, eye level and actual endgame. And next up, we have the Nightmare changes as well. So essentially, they also changed the drop rate of the mace and the orb and the staff to be overall more common, given that especially Nightmare is a pretty long boss fight compared to a lot of other bosses. So yeah, a lot of the drop rates were kind of high when compared to other bosses, and getting the log for the boss just takes a while. So this, I don't think it's gonna crash the price, for the simple fact that the mace and I guess the set as well just got buffed. So I don't think it's necessarily gonna crash the price. I think if anything, it's gonna increase the price, but we'll see. I mean, I know that Nightmare is also not really a very popular boss, so we'll see about that. Next up, we have the minimum hit adjustments. Essentially, right now, or at least that's how the games used to work, you have, let's say that you have a 50% chance of eating. Essentially, if you do a successful eat, you then roll your damage from like 0 to 10, which means that even if you technically quote unquote eat, you can still eat at 0, right? And they wanted to change that. Now, the proposition was that as long as you roll a eat, that you roll the damage from 1 to 10 in this case. So you would always at least eat 1 if you rolled like the 0, I guess. They ended up not going with that system because ultimately it would increase the damage, especially at lower levels, because as long as you would eat, you would always do damage, which is a pretty big increase in DPS, all things considered. So instead, what they did is, as long as you eat, the damage will roll like from 1 to 10, for example, but you'll actually lose a max hit. So in the example they give is, let's say that your max hit is 58, your damage rolls between 1 and 57, instead of 0 and 58. Ultimately, you still do the same damage, it's just that now, if you do actually have an accurate eat, you actually do always at least roll a 1 and actually eat. Now, the interesting part is that this was like a few weeks ago, I think, that the changes went live. RuneScape 3 also changed this system when they were rebalancing combat. In RuneScape 3 it works a bit different, but it used to work the exact same way, like if you have a 50% chance of eating the target, right, or eat rate, essentially what would happen is, if you did successfully hit the target, you would roll damage from 0 to, however much damage you would do. So they changed it, so the hit rate is actually the amount of damage you do to a target. So accuracy still matters in the sense that you will essentially, like if you have 100% hit rate, you'll do full damage, but if you have 20%, for example, you still do damage, you just deal 20% of damage. So technically the DPS was unchanged, right? Because over the course of a minute or a kill, you still essentially, because of how chance, I guess, works, you still essentially deal the same amount of damage. It's just that now it actually feels better because you do actually do damage, especially in RuneScape 3 with all of the abilities and everything. It feels really bad when your ability would just whiff. Not fun. But yeah, I find it funny that like both games are both touching on that, but yeah, I mean, ultimately I think it's a good change. It's better for, it's the feedback of the game. Again, like it feels weird that as a player, like end game player, kite it out, and then you hit a monster and it's just like 0. It's like, okay, cool. So I mean, again, not that this change is gonna have a major impact, but I just think it's a good thing because it is a bit weird. Like I think that a lot of people didn't quite understand that that's how the game worked. And honestly, neither did I. I thought that as long as you would eat, so like you would have your accuracy, like again, like 50%. So as long as you rolled a positive eat, they would always do damage because I didn't think the game would roll from a 0. So yeah, I guess obviously this is a good thing. And next up we have, fuck, I'm lost. Yeah, early game combat prayers. So essentially they are changing the early game prayers, damaging prayers, I guess, or accuracy prayers. Points. So they essentially drain less prayer, and on top of that, they are essentially giving it more damage. If your level is lower than 20, and they explain that essentially, 5% increase to actually work, you need a strength level of 20. By that point, players are often past the point where they turned on these prayers. So yeah, I think that the thing is, a lot of people don't even turn on the prayers altogether. Like a lot of people just skip these prayers, especially if your prayer level is low enough. Like these prayers are very, very niche, so hopefully this will make people interact with them a bit more. But I guess it remains to be seen. Next up we have the autocast delay. So whenever you are like, there's a certain delay when you have autocast on when first attacking monsters, that like your character sort of does this sort of like, it's not stem, it's like what was it called? Fuck, I forget the name. But essentially, like, there's a certain, your character sort of stops for like a tick and only then starts like attacking. And that was removed to make it smoother. Finally, I guess. It was the same thing with the rune crafting thing. Like, when rune crafting, you would also have this sort of this delay of 1 tick, where like your character would be stuck in this stuck, yeah, that's the word, where your character would be stuck in like this animation, and they remove that. I think that like removing these type of ticks is just really good. Yeah, I mean, technically it makes the game quote unquote faster, but it makes it overall smoother, which I think is much better. You know, I think it offsets the being faster, especially because it doesn't even make it all that faster. But yeah, the next two changes and the last two changes of the blog. First up is to Verzik, where essentially the second phase of where the Nilacas spawned, also known as red crabs, despite clearly being ticks, according to Jagex, as they wrote in the blog. Again, this is why you should read the blogs. Essentially, only one crab will spawn if there's one player, two will spawn if there's two, and so on and so forth. And then lastly, to the Path of Apmenken and Baba, which has been a fucking pain, and they have changed this like 3 times by now. Essentially, they have increased the damage that... not just the damage, but also the HP. Yeah, okay, they've increased the HP of the monsters and the damage that the monsters take when, using the opposite combat style, which you would probably already use because sometimes their defense and your accuracy wouldn't be too good. So, that's really good. It makes it smoother, and it makes it smoother as well for solos, which is, again, really good. Will it make it faster? I honestly don't know. I think this room will still be somewhat of a pain. I like the idea of sort of like wave-based minion room type thing as a challenge, right? In that sort of raid anyway, when it comes to talking about the... what was it called? The idea, the identity of the raid. I think it's good, but the way it's done, it's maybe a bit too much, especially with the... like random things happening, like the pillars and stuff like that. So it's not exactly the very, or like the most favorite thing from players, but it's there, I guess. And lastly, they essentially reduce the damage that Baba does through protection prayers to 25 instead of 33. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this blog, and I think this will be, as I mentioned, the last combat related blog on the Project Rebalance thing, which we've been for like 4 months almost at this point. Yeah, I mean, this one wasn't like very exciting as the other ones, but I think they are good changes, especially the occult. Like the occult just fucking needed a change. So I'm glad that it did. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Link in the description if you want to like look at every single thing in detail and the reasoning as why Jagex did it. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with these changes. I can't wait. Obviously, most of my, I guess, expertise are on the skilling changes. That's where I mostly have most of my opinions. But yeah, if you want to read it, link in the description.